Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about every B2B business owner's favorite topic, which is signing bigger deals. And to do that, we're going to be learning corporate deal structure and positioning. So no more chasing small budget clients and no underpricing your business just to get yeses on sales calls. So if you're serious about getting bigger clients and charging what you're worth, I encourage you to stick around to the end of this video. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about is why someone would not buy from you. So here's the truth. There's only two reasons why someone would not buy from you. Number one is that they don't believe you can deliver the result that you're promising. Number two is they don't actually want the result that you're promising. If they don't believe that you can deliver the result that you're promising, here's what you need to do. First things first is we need to speak their language. So let's say you're working with healthcare companies. Now, what a lot of you are doing is you're saying very airy statements that have no meaning, like we help hospitals serve patients better. But a stronger piece of sales collateral or copywriting or email or whatever it might be will go a layer deeper than that. And you're going to speak to the real buying priorities of somebody who works at one of these million-dollar healthcare firms. So here's an example of that. We could say, we reduce compliance risk by ensuring your patient data workflows stay HIPAA secure while also improving staff efficiency so your clinicians can spend less time with paperwork and more time on patient care. So this does two things. So number one, we're anticipating their needs before they get on the sales call. So they now know that we handle patient data security, we handle all the compliance risk, and we perform these specific actions other than just helping them serve their patients better. So when they get on a call with your sales team, they're not asking 300 extra questions and wasting time. So you can close these people easier and they just understand your service better. So they're just better clients, period. Number two is that we simply are more trustworthy because we understand the complexities of the healthcare market, and we're proving that by the things that we're saying in our content, right? Number two is that we just can show more proof. So just keep this one simple. Show more case studies online. Show more case studies in your content. Put more case studies on your website. More testimonials. You can interview past clients on Zoom and just show real data, that proves that you're a business that is worth working with. Number three is we explain how our solution fits into their existing operations. So a lot of big firms are worried that working with a new marketing partner is going to be very complicated. So that maybe you're adding new positions they're going to have to hire for. You're creating all of this new stuff that is just going to be a headache for them. What you need to explain to these people is that your solution fits into what they're already doing, so that maybe you integrate with their existing marketing department, or that you work directly with this aspect of their business, right? And the last thing we can do is use visuals. So, words can't convey everything, and it might be better to use charts, calculators, or some kind of mock-up to break down the more complex parts of your service when you're pitching, let's say, a board of executives, right? An example of that, let's say you offer something lead gen related. I'm going to leave this calculator in the description so you can steal this, you can copy it to your own Google Docs. Really simple here. Let's say I just go here and I change the client lifetime value to 6,000. That changes the value of the meeting. It changes the return on investment per meeting. Now you can create something like this for virtually any service, right? But if you do happen to offer something lead gen related, so I'm going to leave this in the description for you to steal. Long story short, if you can't logically break down how your service directly improves a business, they're going to feel like you don't understand their needs and they're not going to have any interest in working with you. Now, on the other hand, if you find out that your market doesn't want the result that you're offering, you need to suck it up and you're going to have to pivot. So you need to stop pushing this offer and reperform market research to find out what problems they actually do care about. So let's say we're still working with hospitals. Here's an example. So you come in talking about providing faster appointment scheduling and other software related help. But your target market, these hospital executives, they're not really losing sleep over scheduling per se. They don't really care about scheduling. What they care about is patient satisfaction scores, losing revenue from poor ratings, and then the Medicare reimbursement penalties that they face from those poor ratings and poor experiences. So instead of pushing fewer clicks to book an appointment, you reposition your offer around boosting patient experience metrics and protecting the revenue that is tied to having to reimburse those patients. So we're not selling anything different, we're just shifting our positioning. So instead of talking about operational efficiency, we're talking about financial and compliance impact directly. Now, another hack that you can use is to review these company profiles online and see what they're hiring for. So you can tweak your offer to align with whatever sectors where they're investing money. So if they're investing heavily in IT, they're investing heavily in HR, whatever it might be, bake those into your core offer. All right, so now we can start talking about corporate deal structure. So big companies spend money a lot differently than smaller companies do. So right now, if your business is positioned as some kind of optional expense, you cannot sign these massive deals because you need to be seen as mandatory market protection instead. So instead of your client thinking, do I need this? You want them to think, how much am I losing by not working with you already? So the way we can do this is by comparing their current strategy to what their competitors are doing. And then you need to explain why they are clearly behind and that investing money with you in your strategy is a non-negotiable for growth over the long term. Now, something else to keep in mind is that budgets in these massive companies are driven by a couple major things. Number one is, of course, urgency. So the biggest problem is going to get funded first. Number two is that the department that is complaining the most will also receive funding. And boardroom politics, number three, are also extremely important. So whoever has the CEO's ear, whoever's their right-hand man, will also have a major influence in where money gets spent. So what we need to do, instead of selling an optional expense, is selling smarter allocation of money that these companies are already spending. So this is pretty much the same as, we do normal market research, but with a couple tweaks. So number one is to find the wasted or underperforming spend. So what initiatives are they currently working on that are obviously incorrect or being done wrong, being done inefficiently, whatever it might be, and then show them that they are losing out on likely millions of dollars by having this particular part of their business be run so poorly. And then we can redirect that spend to you. So they don't have to spend new money, they just need to invest in a different strategy that you are showing them. Now, continuing to talk about offers, we need to make sure that our offer is not just a one department win. So let's go back to the previous example about hospitals. When we're creating our offer and when we're explaining it to the executives on our sales calls, we need to show them that our solution helps out all parts of the business. So let's say on the sales side, we have a much easier patient acquisition pipeline and there's more referrals happening because of better data and better reporting. On the operations side, there's a smoother intake of new patients and an easier discharge process, so there's way less administrative errors. On the HR side, there's way less staff burnout and less turnover. On the finance side, there's fewer denied insurance claims and improved reimbursement rates. So when your solution helps multiple departments in these multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar firms, it's way harder for them to cut you, and it's way more important that they hear you out in the first place. Now, something else that you need to make sure that you're doing when you're in the process of pitching these companies is to create a champion. The easiest way to do this is on LinkedIn. So in these massive deals, you need some kind of internal advocate for yourself and your business. Someone that's gonna push your project forward when you're not in the room. So you can find these people on LinkedIn, usually mid or senior level managers. You can engage with their content, share resources that they clearly care about, that they're interested in, and position yourself as their go-to expert to help out their company, from the outside. Now you have somebody who's fighting for you inside the company because they understand that it will make their job easier if their company was to invest money in your solution. Now, this is going to be arguably the most important section, so listen very closely. When you deal with multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar businesses, they are going to expect a different level of subject matter expertise than, let's say, if you were working with your local coffee shop. So let's say, for example, one of these multi-million dollar companies asks you, hey, is our cold email campaign good? The only way for you to answer that is if you analyzed the following metrics. If you analyze the response rate, so the percentage of people who responded to the emails, the positive response rate, so the percentage of those responses that were actually interested, the call booking rates, the percentage of positive responses that turned into booked calls, and the close rates, the percentage of those booked calls that actually converted into paying clients. Unless you're a true subject matter expert on cold email and you know all of the nuances of the service, you can't explain to these executives why their current strategy is flawed, even if they've actually presented you with all of the relevant data. On top of this, a lot of these business owners are going to jump to conclusions way too soon. So let's say their campaign contacted 1,000 people in 6 days. If on the 7th day they ask you to evaluate it, you don't have enough data to judge if that campaign is good or not, because The timeline of a typical cold email campaign needs 1 to 2 weeks to get the leads to book the calls, and then 2 to 4 to move those leads through the whole sales process and then close them. If you try to evaluate performance before that cycle's done, you're gonna make misguided decisions based on incomplete data. So here is an example of what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna flash the data on screen right here. So at first glance, it looks like the first campaign is more successful because it generated more responses, right? But the second campaign closed 4 times as many clients, which means it makes way more money with less leads and less work. A lot of large businesses are going to mistakenly scale the wrong kinds of marketing campaigns and initiatives because they focus on the surface level numbers instead of what is actually profitable to them. Long story short, you need to know your numbers and know them well. You need to deeply understand how to evaluate the performance of whatever service vertical that you are selling. Lastly, we need to talk about creating authority and charging what you're worth. So these higher paying clients are rarely going to buy from strangers, right? So the fastest way to build authority is to appear in the places where your market is already learning from. So guest appearances on podcasts, webinars, guest blogs, guest appearances on email lists, etc. We are finding opportunities to showcase our expertise where these people are already learning from. You can pay for these appearances, you can network on LinkedIn with the owners of the podcast and webinars or email lists, or you can offer some kind of cross promotion to your social media if you have a large following. We can take this pre-call authority to another level by adding email drip sequences before the sales call. So you can include videos that answer common objections, explain why your competitors' offers are clearly worse than yours, and then highlight data that shows that your service provides the best result out of anybody else in the industry. You can set these up automatically inside of your call booking software. Calendly and a lot of other ones offer this service. Or you can set up procedures to have your project managers send them out manually. The goal is once you finally get on that sales call with these billion-dollar clients, they know who you are and they know that you are a competent service provider. Now, lastly, we can talk about value-based pricing. So you need to stop selling hours and deliverables if you want to work with these massive clients and start pricing based on the value that you bring to these companies. If you can add $1 million in revenue, a $100,000 contract is a no-brainer. Obviously, you can only claim this if you have a case study to back it up, right? This will reframe your service from a cost to an investment. So the takeaway from all of this for you is that signing higher paying B2B deals is not about pushing harder, it's about positioning in a smarter manner, understanding why your market buys, building authority before you pitch them, and then price based on value and not effort. If you found this valuable, leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment with what industry you are targeting, and I'll reply with how I'd approach it. See you later.